For today's session, we'll focus on role transformation and how organizations can create a balance between growth and cost cutting by upskilling its people. How can they make the most of their resources by allocating the right roles to the right people? Where should organizations focus on to create winning initiatives across employee groups?
A couple of years ago, we coined a word or an acronym VUCA, which actually stood for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And while we were still watching the VUCA world, the world changed for us. And the new acronym that seems to be doing the rounds now is BANI, where B stands for brittle, A stands for anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. Now, imagine where we were just dealing with ambiguity, we're talking about non-linear and anxious. And that really makes it very difficult for individuals to deal with it.
There are 6 facets that point to the underlying factors that new age businesses are considering. I'll try to kind of bring all of these 6 across with an acronym, MOSAIC, for ease of recall for our audience today. The first one I'll talk about from an M perspective is that of measurable matrices. What really are the matrices that learning and development teams or business teams want to run when they're planning any engagement? This is becoming hypercritical for the world that we live in today. The other one would be O for outcomes. Here we reference to business outcomes. Gone are the days where different entities or different units in an organization work in silos. Progressive organizations, progressive HR teams are working very closely with businesses and speaking the business language. So when we talk about the outcomes from a program or from a learning intervention, we're always talking about alignment of it to business outcomes. The third one is that of S, which is standardized to scale. Very interesting in the VUCA world, in the BANI world, on how can we have programs that can be deployed across the organization, but also enables us to scale them out. The fourth one is that of agility to adapt. That's the A part of it. How can our organizations be more agile in their thinking, be more adaptable to the environment, to the macroeconomic factors around us? The next one is very, very cool, which is the I for industry readiness. There are organizations which are talking about leading 4.0. There are organizations who are already manifesting their outputs in terms of industry 5.0. And if economic reports are to be believed, the next 2 years are going to be more of that. So the more that organizations can stay ahead of it and be ready for the changes in the industry, the better it is going to be from a business growth or an optimization perspective. Last but not the least is that of credentialing. And when we say credentialing, we don't really just mean certifications, but more about qualifications as a differentiator to the talent that organizations either have in their company or the ones that they hope to bring into their organizations. Bringing this all together, the MOSAIC or the MOSAIC helps employees get performance outcomes from their roles and enterprises get business outcomes that matter.
So I think over the last 2 years, what we've really been able to do is create a learning architecture which sits on content that is ready to be deployed, that gets curated, and that has multi dimensions to it and not just classroom training. We're also looking at being able to deploy technology in a way where we're able to get learning insights such that programs that are getting offered progressively are actually building on our learnings of the past. We're also looking at learner engagement programs where we're looking at learning adoption, not just by counting the number of learning hours the individual has put, but also get to an L3 level where we get to the manager to understand what change in behavior has been initiated and how much of it is sustained.
Interesting for us and really gratifying for us was that the BCCL leadership team was focused on building these skills that delivered a higher degree of resilience, creativity, agility, and embrace the future business scenarios in a post-pandemic world. This was very exciting for our content team, for our delivery team, because they got to really break out and think laterally, think creatively. So it starts from us. We need to kind of think like that before we can kind of go and push this out and request concurrence from the BCCL team. Our strategy here was to bring attention towards a change in the mindset that could be brought through skilling in behavioral and professional skills. This behavioral transformation is based on our trademark learning architecture, which we call AKAR, which is AKAR. AKAR, of course, is the the Hindi word for to shape, to form, to evolve, or to develop. It's a trademark learning architecture, which is a unique learning methodology which encompasses the four elements, which are awareness, which is the A part of it, knowledge, the K part of it, application, the other A part of it, and reinforcement, which is the R. One part of this design was about giving straight approach modules to competencies like competency-based leadership development, niche skill development, change management, decision-making, execution excellence, strategic thinking, communication, impactful interactions, just to name a few. But really the difference between this and anything else that you see out in the market is that it was based on this four-step process of awareness, knowledge, application, and reinforcement. With about 40,000 learner hours and a feedback of 4.5 plus, this program had a direct impact on the learners. And after 1 year post-skilling, it's very humbling for us when learners come back and they talk about the direct correlation of these learning interventions with performance improvement.
The partnership has been very fulfilling because what we really wanted to do was to get the learner into the class or at least learning mode and then actually benefit as an organization, because that's the other side of the coin. So some of the matrices that that helped us believe that we're in the right direction was the fact that our unique learner percentage, we closed last year at about 72%, which clearly means that 72 out of 100 people did some sort of learning that got recorded. While I as a learning head, I really want to believe that the other remaining 28 were also learning. It's just that it didn't get captured in it just didn't get captured. But 72% learning penetration is a great one to have, and we hope to scale further heights. Minaxi did mention we did have L1, L2, L3 level of measurements where we've got managers coming back and telling us that there is changed behavior. That comes also on the back of the 4.5 plus learner score on 4.5 out of 5 on a learner score L1 feedback. Therefore, all the pull and all the framework that we created resulted in more than 62,000 learning hours invested in about 4,000 colleagues. From a program perspective, I think back-end calculations would tell me that we've got close to about 700 assets that were utilized in the form of either content through ILT, which is instructor-led program, or even through e-learning programs that we have deployed to kind of bring that journey into a blended form of choice and convenience of would you like to attend a class program or would you just be self-driven and do it on your own. We are, so we measure our business in terms of circulation that we have, and I'm happy to note that we are at 100% pre-COVID levels. So whatever circulation we had for our newspaper dailies, we're doing as much as we were doing pre-COVID. The business recovery is also above 90%. We're similar. So we have reached a point where we would really call ourselves on our trajectory for growth. This also comes on the back of the hand, on back of the winds that we are able to deploy talent internally.
A case in point here is this particular deployment also won us together the gold at the Brandon Hall Awards, which is widely seen as the Oscars of learning deployment. It showed not only that the work was happening, had impact, but also that it is globally relevant. And there is going to be regard and manifestation of that across different teams, verticals, geos.
I would have a 3M mantra where I really think that any learning architecture, keeping the entire role transformation, business transformation, etc., as context, would be the 3Ms for me: meaning, management, and measure. And all three of them and the interplay of this is what will make a good learning strategy.
Well, thank you, both of you, for sharing your learnings and your insights. And it was wonderful having you both on the panel. So we'll, since we are running short on time, we'll have to wrap up for today's session, but we'll bring in more exciting and impactful takeaways on empowering your organizational growth strategies to thrive in the new age economy. Stay tuned for our next discussion. Thanks everyone for watching. And thank you, Minaxi and Gaurika once again.